How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about former Virginia governor, current Virginia senator, and also former 2016 Hillary Clinton VP pick Tim Kaine, saying that the U.S. did not inherit slavery, but we invented it. This is a ridiculous claim. I think everyone would agree on that. This is a crazy thing to say, but he said it live on the Senate floor. Now, before I get to what he said, let's roll the clip. In this clip, you'll hear the context because I was concerned about that. What's the context? But you'll hear that after we get done hearing what he said and the context. I'll come back, give you my 2 cents, my deep detail analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
We need to ban racial and religious profiling. We need to hold police officers and police departments accountable for violent, reckless behavior. We need to promote better training and professional accreditation of police departments. Madam President, why do we demand that universities maintain accreditation to receive federal funds, but make no such demand of law enforcement agencies? And we need to do much more within the criminal justice system, but also within all of our systems, to dismantle the structures of racism that our federal, state, and local governments carefully erected and maintained over centuries. We know a little bit about this in Virginia. The first African Americans into the English colonies came to Point Comfort, Virginia in 1619. They were slaves. They'd been captured against their will, but they landed in colonies that didn't have slavery. There were no laws about slavery in the colonies at that time. The United States didn't inherit slavery from anybody. We created it. It got created by the Virginia General Assembly and the legislatures of other states. It got created by the court systems in colonial America and since that enforced fugitive slave laws. We created it. And we created it and maintained it over centuries. And in my lifetime, we have finally stopped some of those practices, but we've never gone back to undo it. Stopping racist practices at year 350 of 400 years, but then taking no effort to dismantle them is not the same as truly combating racism.
All right, so you heard that, you saw that. Now, Tim Kaine, what kind of drugs are you on, sir? What makes you think that this was correct to say? The U.S. most certainly did inherit slavery, because let's not forget, before 1776, we were a colony of the Kingdom of Great Britain. Okay, so slavery was here under them before we became the U.S. So yes, we did inherit it, and we did not create it. Slavery's been around since the beginning of man. You're talking about Mesopotamia. You're talking about every continent on planet Earth. There were slaves. Even in the context of my direct ancestors, the black slaves, the African slaves that came here to the U.S. and also South America and the Caribbean, there was slavery already there in Africa. Because here's what would happen. You would have the African slave traders go from the coast where the Europeans would pick up and slave trade, not slave kidnap, but slave trade. They would go from the coast to the interior, raid the small villages, kidnap people, put them in little holding cells, castles, or whatever that the Europeans had built, wait for the European to come. They would offload the slaves from wherever they were, the holding cells or whatever, and then they would get things in return. Mirrors, cannonballs, guns, liquor, stuff like that. You see, the problem is that the European did better as a result of the slave trade than we did. They came out on top, and the African slave traders did not come out on top. You may have some Africans that came out on top, like Mansa Musa, who was the biggest slave trader in the world. You know, it's funny when I hear people talk about Mansa Musa, someone the pro-black, black, back to Africa types. They say, hey, Mansa Musa, richest man ever. But yeah, how was he rich? He had a cornucopia of slaves. That was a thing that he did. He sold slaves. That's why he was rich. You know, it's like bragging about a drug dealer being rich. It's like, come on, he sold slaves. That's how you got rich. But I digress. My whole point is that Africans already had a slave trading system there. If they didn't go to the Europeans, they got traded to other Africans and also to the Arabs. And the Arabs were more brutal with it because they would take them from like, what was that, Timbuktu, which is like a meeting point, from sub-Saharan Africa up into the Sahara Desert, and then they would go across the Sahara. They would go through what is current day Mali, Chad, Niger, Sudan, and go to like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, places like that, to the Ottoman Empire. Okay, speaking about the Ottoman Empire, they had slavery there with other races of people, not just the blacks. And then before that, they had the Hebrews enslaved. You had slavery in the Roman, the Greeks, everywhere. Every place had slaves. Europeans enslaved each other. You had Irish slaves in America. You had Irish slaves in like Ireland. Okay, you had the Slavs. Like the Slavs, where the word slave comes from. The Slavic peoples in Europe. The word slave comes from Slav. They were slaves. Okay, this is real simple. Slavery was everywhere. Even before the European came to what is now the United States, the natives had slaves. They not only had slaves, but they also had human sacrifice. That was happening all over the world too. So to say that, oh, well, it was the U.S. that created slavery and we didn't inherit it is just ridiculously false. Now, to give you a little bit of backstory on why he said what he said, he went to kind of a Black Lives Matter type rally in Richmond. And by the way, he said that he went to it in his hometown of Richmond. He's not from Richmond. He's from Kansas City, Missouri, but that's a different story, and I digress. He went to the rally put on by, I think, two young girls, like middle school, high school, or whatever. And he felt compelled to give a speech on the Senate floor about stopping structural racism and having more empathy, I guess. It was really weird. The speech was just kind of just virtually signaling, as is normal for the Democratic Party to do nowadays. They give you all kind of sweet talks. They'll lie to you like Tim Kaine obviously did. They do that to try and just appeal to the masses. Hey, look at me. I'm not racist like my current governor, Ralph Northam, is, or allegedly is, with the blackface and their KK pictures in his yearbook. He was 25 years old going to medical school or graduating medical school. I'm not like that. I'm better. I'm woke. I am just like you. I'm an ally. I'm a white ally. That's what Tim Kaine may want to come off as. But what he came off as to me was a liar. No, the U.S. did not invent slavery. And yes, we did inherit it. Okay, because even before the colonies were here, that was going on over in Europe. Okay, you had slave traders already in Europe. The Portuguese, the French, the English, that was already happening there. And I'm from Virginia, so I know about what he was saying as far as, Point Comfort. That's like Fort Monroe. I've been there. That's like right there in Hampton. You can see it from the HRBT. Matter of fact, my dad used to live like right across the water from that, because my dad lived in Willoughby Spit. You could pretty much see it. So I know what he's talking about. I've seen it. I've been there. I'm from Virginia. He's right about them coming to that particular part of the current day United States in 1619. That's right. But what he's not right about is that the U.S. somehow created slavery. Slavery's been around for forever. It's still happening right now, unfortunately. But it's not a new concept that we created. I mean, it was here and it's gone now. We in the West were some of the first ones to end slavery over there in Africa. And some of the slave-holding kingdoms had the colors that the Democrats wore when they did their whole little kneeling protest. So you're kneeling for what? George Floyd, but didn't he die with a knee on his neck? So are you mocking that? What's really going on? And you're wearing the kente cloth. That's part of the Ashanti from Ghana. They were selling slaves. So, what are we really doing here? The Democrats don't really care. They'll pretty much tell you anything. They'll put out historically inaccurate information, things that are not sensitive. As long as they think they can get some kind of positive result, they'll do it. They don't really care about being factual, about being honest, about doing any kind of research. I feel like they've become the anti-intellectual party, and they're more about just your feelings. How do I feel nowadays? That will determine how I carry myself all throughout my life. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that Tim Kaine was correct when he said that the U.S. did not inherit slavery and that we did create it? And that's your viewpoint. Let me know why in the comments below. Or is it the other way around? Do you agree with me? Yes, we did inherit slavery. It was here long before the U.S. became the U.S. And it's a thing that was all around the world. And we didn't create it. How can you say that we created it? This is a thing that, like I said, since the beginning of man, the earliest civilization, Mesopotamia, Golden Crescent, has been around since then, and it's always been here. Unfortunately, it is what it is. They got forms of it that's not called slavery in different parts of the world that want to try to admonish the U.S. cough, cough, China, cough, cough. Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.